Hello everybody. I'm here recording another computer video. And this one is a bit of an interesting one. This one is a completely custom built computer made in Wyoming County, New York by Wyoming County Computers and was delivered on 1/13/99 and is registered under the number 0083. So that's interesting. This computer was made very locally, and if you know anything about southwestern New York, it's a very poor region, so having a custom-built computer like this was interesting. Now the internals, well actually not going into the internals first. If you notice here, this AT DIN connector is wiggly and sideways. The reason for that is the packer who packs pallets at our local electronics recycling center left a 5-pin DIN to 6-pin mini DIN adapter on here and shoved the computer into a pallet, ramming this completely sideways almost and breaking off the metal plate that was here. I don't have that metal plate anymore, but obviously something can be fashioned. So, I thought I wouldn't need to open the case until later, but I discovered that when testing the JTS hard drive, I discovered that when testing the 1-point-some gig JTS hard drive, I forgot to plug the IDE cable back in. I have subsequently plugged it back in, but at that time it was not plugged in. This system comes with a 90 MHz Pentium S CPU, 32-some megabytes of EDO RAM shoved back in the corner there. Get the flashlight so you can see it. You can see it right back at the corner there. It has a VGA card. Is it an S3 Trio by Trident, I think? A modem card, a parallel and serial card, I think. Oh no, that is a joystick and sound card port. Or a card, excuse me, I'm sorry. This the system is modern enough to have 4 or 5 PCI slots and 3 ISA slots. So that gives you about the idea of the time period. So I'm going to close this up. I'm not even going to screw it back in. Closing it up is fairly simple. Well, no it's not. I'll be right back. We'll power this thing up after I do. Okay, so the case has been put back on. And we're ready to power this bad boy up. Now, since the connector for the 5-pin DIN is virtually broken, I had to do a lot of fidgeting around with the connector to get it in just the right spot so that all the pins made contact. So these keyboards do work, and this particular one is a SunTouch 101, which is a remake or clone of an IBM Model M keyboard with the buckling springs. So I'm going to turn this on. You can listen to the JTS hard drive spin up. Okay, so you heard the JTS hard drive spin up, and it is initializing the video. And what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to put a spin-right disk into the CD-ROM drive. And that is because this disk is unfortunately developing bad sectors. I'm not sure if this is, I don't know, an existing condition because JTS drives are not the most reliable, or it's something else, but I'm going to see if I can get it nailed down right away. I hope it detects the CD-ROM drive. If it doesn't, we're going to have a problem. What? I think there's something a bit wrong with this CD-ROM drive. Alright, you know what? Wait just a minute here. Let's reset this. It may or may not read this because this is only a compact disc and this is a CDR, but hey, I'll try. So you can see this is an, oh well, too late now. It's an an S3 Trio 64 with, I don't know, 2 megabytes of VRAM. So I don't think it is Trident. I think S3 is its own company, although don't quote me. Alright, so now I can insert the CD, because it appears it has detected the CD-ROM this time. So I'm going to enter setup. As you can see, the keyboard actually does work properly. And I'm going to see if I can deal with that boot order. Make sure. Alright, so yeah, it's not even right. No! Let's see. Modify as plus. CD-ROM CA is what I want, so I'm going to save and exit the setup with Y. And hopefully that saves. I don't really have any, you know, fresh CR2032 batteries around here. Yeah, and it just ejects the CD-ROM still spinning, which is curious. Pentium S was a name for power-saving Pentiums that was discontinued in later versions of the Award BIOS. I read about this online, seeing as I didn't know what a Pentium S CPU was, and I was actually seeing quite a bit of them around. So it seems to have took the settings. Oh, you little poop. Let's reset it. I don't want it to put into Windows 95. Yeah, I did neglect to mention that this does run Windows 95, albeit with errors because lag. You can see the model number there. I'll pause the video probably or something, I don't know. It's an S3 Trio 64 Plus. That's what I saw. I know all of you can't see it because you don't have laser eyes, but CD drive is trying to read it. Yeah, it just ejects the thing spinning. Now if it'll wait, no, it's not gonna wait. Okay, so this CD-ROM drive is a piece of crap. I have to do something special with that. And you can see that it says Comtech. I don't know what that is, but it's not part of the WCOM thing. Chunk it away though. I think it might be stuck. It'll want to do a scan disk because I didn't shut it down properly. I don't know if it'll get stuck on a bad sector or not, because it's got quite a bit of bad sectors. I think it's stuck on one now. There we go. Windows did not take a serial mouse. I don't care. I can still operate this with a keyboard only. This may sound like a surprise to some of you, but I don't think I actually have any PS2 mice. And yeah, I don't think this is going to read this properly because this thing is a piece of crap and is not detected whenever it's loading, and it just ejects the CD spinning, which is not good. Let me demonstrate it one more time. Okay, I guess it's not going to do it anymore. Okay, so I'll need to get a different CD-ROM for that. So you can see all the crap on here. It's got some modestly good software like Spybot Search and Destroy, and whatever Scan32 is, but since this keyboard is old enough, it has no Windows key. Which is unfortunate, because I kind of use that Windows key. Ah, there we go. Okay, Control Escape also triggers the Start menu. I did not know that, now I do, so there we go. It has McAfee Virus Scan in it, an old version. Mouse Magic CS, whatever that is. Bye-bye S&D, right there, the learning company, so it has Learn to Speak Spanish 7 on here. Wow! Okay, so, look at that. If any of you know anything about anything, that flag is the Italian flag. And it says, Learn to Speak Spanish. Good job, learning company. You had one job. Talk about learning. Stop being so hypocritical and learn your flags before you assign them. Like you did. So, I think I need to do some things. Actually, yeah, I'm going to do some things, and I'll be right back. So this has Office 97 on it, and I'm going to type some things. I'm going to set the camera right in front of the keyboard so you can hear me type. Okay, so here's what I've typed. You can either take the time to read it or don't. I don't care which. I'm not staying on it. Okay, so I have managed to rig a setup, and I now have a different CD-ROM drive in than what I need, or had before, rather. So now I can actually use SpinRite, I hope. And I have the monitor sitting on the side now. Hopefully it will detect the disk. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't, but weirder things have happened. Okay, it does see that. Okay, so it is booting off of this. Alright, good. Yay! It's actually working! It's managing to boot on a Pentium 1, 90 megahertz. Doing an auto adjust because the image is incredibly horrible. Alright, so here we go. Press any key to proceed. Any key to proceed. And I'm going to do enter, select other options. I'm going to restore good sectors because that does everything in below the list, I'm pretty sure. So what this is going to do, actually, you know what? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do level 4. Because a lot of the bad sectors on this disc are kind of okay and kind of unreadable at the same time. So I don't want to have potentially bad sectors marked good when they're actually bad. So I'm going to log activities. So I'm going to log that to LPT1, even though that's kind of stupid, so I'm not actually going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to perform drive benchmarks, actually, just to see what it's like. No smart. Okay, so that's what the speed of a JTS Champion, however many gigs this is. So, there you go. Now, I am going to... Ooh, yeah, I need to select stuff to do. Good job. Alright, so it's going to look for bad sectors, and hopefully it'll succeed with that. And see, it already has some bad sectors marked from where ScanDisk has done stuff. And this doesn't take very long. I know for a fact what this does in the real-time activities Because yeah, see, it does a maintenance read, an invert data read, and then a invert data write, and then a maintenance write, I think, in that order. So yeah, and you can see it's quite quick. It's, well, for that. So see, it says initially bad 15, and that's 960 sectors with about 500 kilobytes. So yeah, I'll get back to you when that finishes. And just a quick little overview of this. I've noticed on some computers, this bit monitor will actually have clean lines between 1 and 0, so it won't be like this. It won't be all over the place and look like craziness. It'll actually be either 0 or 1. There's no in between. And what's interesting is that, I don't know, SpinRite seems to be able to distinguish pretty well between a 1-bit and a 0-bit, judging by this crap. So, good job, SpinRite. Alright, so I'll be back when this finishes. Now, I've noticed in certain areas in the disk, the drive will tend to do this. Oh, well, it's done now. But what it sounds like sounds like that. Sounds like the drive resets once and then is able to read the sector. So, failing heads? Not sure. This is recovering data from a bad sector. Sectors defective region located. Okay, so it's finished. And at the end of the day, it started with 15 bad sectors, returned 12 of them to use, and removed one of them from use. So, alright. I'm almost completely certain that the removal of some of these bad sectors is due to the disk being incredibly cold down in my basement. Now, what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to lug this upstairs. And I'm going to create the worst possible heat situation for it I can. And that, at that point, after I run SpinRite, should determine whether these sectors on the disk are actually bad, or they are just heat related, or situation related. Okay, so I've done my stuff with this computer, and I've decided that it's about time to clean this thing. The results of my testing with the JTS hard drive proved that heat was not the problem, nor accentuated the problem, but the sector areas where it got bad sectors over random intervals was just completely random and part of the drive. I washed these IDE cables, which are extremely dirty, and I got rid of the lawnmower on top of the heatsink. So, I'm going to now disassemble this, and I'm going to do it in sort of a backwards way. The first thing I'm going to remove is the power supply. Then I'll remove the motherboard, leaving the cards, and then I will remove this bay, the front panel. Well, I have to remove the front panel in order to get to that. I'll get rid of the speaker, which is just sort of magnetized down there, by my doing. And I will, if I can remove it, I will remove that after. So that'll be the disassembly process, and I'll just cut to the various parts where I get it done. So, be right back, get the power supply off. Okay, so I've gotten the power supply as far out of the way as I can without having to take off the front panel in order to get the power switch out. So, the next thing I'm going to be removing in the set will be the motherboard, not that card specifically. So I'll be back when I have the motherboard removed. And the cables. The cables will come with. I now have the motherboard out and set aside. So now I can get to work on removing the front panel, which will require me to run upstairs and get a different screwdriver so I can remove these irritating little inclusive clip things. Okay, so I now have the front panel removed. As you can see, I can now access everything that I need to access in order to remove the drive bays, and it seems like this CD-ROM drive is modular too, so I'll have to figure that out. And I'll get back to you when I remove the power switch and that dude. I have removed the power switch and gotten the power supply entirely out of the way. I have gotten the 3 1/4 inch bay out, so now that's just a hole, and now I'm going to work at getting this out, which requires the removal of that arm. So the CD-ROM drive came out very easily, as it uses rails. So that makes this case one of the earliest rail-mounted cases that I've ever seen. So, now that I've gotten this completely stripped down, I'm going to go wash the case and its components. This will include a, blowing out of it, a blowout of the motherboard, a little bit of touch-up work on the 3 1/2 inch thing, a bit of a touch-up on the floppy cable, which is right there, tablet's right there, funny that, and cleaning the front panel, as well as giving the power supply a good cleaning on the outside and blow out with the leaf blower. So I'll be back when that's done, and I'll throw it back all back together again. This is what a JTS Champion 2.1 gigabyte drive looks like for those who have not seen one. This was manufactured on November 27th, 1997. So, a good 2 years before the computer was built, assembled, and delivered. This drive is manufactured in an interesting manner, because as you can see, the electronics are in there, whilst the spindle motor resides here, meaning the discs must be directly above it, and the heads must be in here. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to put the electronics in there. And this is different from other drives at the time in terms of manufacturing, because normally they would have the electronics mounted on the back, right above all this. They'd have the motor exposed, probably. Well, not exposed, but, the motor hub would be exposed. As you can see, it was made in India, and JTScorp.com is no longer there. This is JTS driving the future, which was interesting because I'm almost fairly certain that JTS had some former Kellogg engineers working for it. And if you know anything of Kellogg, they were a horrible manufacturer of slow stepper motor hard drives up until 1994 when they died. And this company only lasted until 1998. So this was one of its later offerings. So I have the system all set up again, and it does power on properly. Just to show you, So you can see the S3 Trio BIOS and the regular BIOS come up, so you know it works. It also detects the hardware properly, so that's all fine and dandy. So tomorrow, I'm going to finish up this video by actually showing you the stuff it can do. So, yeah. So it's the next day, and I'm down in the basement getting ready to record the final segment of this video. And just to start off, I thought I would give a bit more of an in-depth discussion of what I did. What I did is I removed these two blanks, as they were incredibly rusty and ugly. I took out the motherboard and everything, and I cleaned the base, got all the pine needles and other various organic debris out. I removed the front panel, cleaned it thoroughly, and cleaned the front metal face as well as the face back here. I took out the 3.5-inch drive bay and gave that a good wipe down with a wet washcloth. Well, I should say moist washcloth. Wet would destroy something. Just to get all the dust off. I gave the 5.25-inch bay and the metal piece thing a good wipe down, and I gave the power supply a good dose of the whatever you call that thing over there, leaf blower, to see if I can get any dust out of it. I really didn't, so I just cleaned off the external casing. On the motherboard itself, it had a bunch of acrid dust that I was able to clean off fairly well with a good blow from the leaf blower. And I removed the lawnmower on top of the heatsink, as it's really not needed. Other than that, I just gave, you know, the system a bit of cable cleanup and other miscellaneous things, even though that's really not the best either. So now that it's pretty much finished, I'm going to slam the case back together and, you know, I'll give a little in-depth tour of the system. Okay, so I have the case all assembled and the 5 case screws have been reinserted. So now it's time to power the thing on and give an in-depth show of the software and other features. I'll give you a good show of the S3 Trio BIOS. So version 1.3 of the Trio BIOS with 2 megabytes of video RAM. Getting into the BIOS, it's really just in a standard award BIOS of the time. You can set IDE drive parameters, set your floppy drives, set your video type, set your halt on things, see your memory size, all that stuff. So now if you, and then the advanced, you can set your boot sequence, your power on self-test, stuff like that. Nothing special in this, really, so you just exit without saving and get into Windows 95. Yes, this does have Windows 95 on it, which is a bit weird, because the hard drive is 2.1 gigabytes, but I've seen weirder, and I actually have weirder, so I can't really say really much for that. As you can see, it has the Energy Star logo, because, you know, Energy Star is very important. This is BIOS version 4.51. And, yeah, the default, so you must check some error because I have no stuff, so I actually have to go into BIOS, load defaults, and then restart, so I'm going to be right back for that. Okay, so here we go, we're booting into Windows 95. As you can see, it has a Comtech logo up there, which I'm not sure what that's all about, if it's a default installation or whatnot. Let me center the screen. We're all good. This does take a minute to boot up, but it's not a very fast computer anyway. Especially considering the 90 megahertz processor. It really could be a better processor in this, but I think for the region and the time it was built, I really don't think the customer could have afforded it. Now Windows is going to prompt me to plug in a serial mouse or restart and plug in a PS2 mouse, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use the keyboard. And it'll take a few minutes to be like, oh, okay, I see what you've done. Because, you know, 90 megahertz Pentium processor. It really doesn't take all too long though, so it's really not the biggest problem in the world. And the hard drive just works away the entire time. You can see the McAfee virus scan prompt there. And you can see all the programs this has on it. It has Office 97, Spybot S&D, which is completely broken. The copy of McAfee you can see down there. Some version of Internet Explorer and various other things. You can see in the program there's a business forms maker, complete idiot's guide, which is interesting. Somewhere down here there's the learn to speak Spanish thing with the Italian flag. Spybot S&D, which I've said is broken and gives this error right here. So that's cool. And yeah, so it's really not all that exciting, but you know, it's just a run-of-the-mill install of Windows 95 with a bunch of programs on it. And the drive itself, as I will show you right now, is not fragmented at all, because I am a complete Nazi about fragmentation. As you can see, this computer at one point or another had a Cyber Patrol endorsed product on it, so they wanted them to buy the Cyber Patrol product, which they obviously did not because there's no other mention of it. There's this program called Mouse Magic CS, which I'm not sure what it does because when I open it, it does nothing. But I would assume if you actually had a mouse plugged in, it would do something. Other than that, oh, it's linked to startup, so it's interesting. I'll have to do some more investigation on that. So you can see the McAfee Virus Scan Central, and this has no viruses on it. I've scanned with McAfee several times, so it knows. It has some fax programs, which is not too unexpected. IBM Via Voice, which I'm not sure what that is. Well, okay, it says right there microphone setup, so it's a microphone program. It allows you to input voice. Yeah. So that's that. You can see Microsoft Bookshelf Basics. I don't even know what that is. It has Adobe Reader 5. So, that's really all I can show. I don't think there's any games on this or anything, but I can check. You can see it. We're going to go into C. See, maybe in the DOS folder there'll be something. No. Nope, not really. Alright, so, let's see. Let me see if I can find something and I'll be right back. While I did not find anything pertaining to games, look what I did find. Anybody remember that? So there were no games on there, but I went to the drive properties and you can see this has a total of 741 megabytes of free space left on the disk with 1.24 used. So they had quite a bit of space left on this, like a good 1/3 of the drive left. And as you can see here, it's a 16-bit FAT, so FAT16, and Windows, for formatting purposes, displays this as 1.96 gigabytes, not 196. So that's really about all I can show you. This Windows Explorer thing might be something interesting, or it might be something not interesting at all. I can check right quick. Yeah, no, it's really not interesting. It just looks, yep, it's not even interesting. So that's about all I can show you, and I'm now going to shut down this computer and we'll be done with it. So thank you for watching this, what will be quite a lengthy video. And thank you if you have gotten to this point and have watched the entire video. Thank you for sticking around and watching this. It really, and if you could leave a comment giving, you know, your opinion and whatever with some constructive criticism. That would be helpful as well. So, thank you for putting up with my horribly crafted sentence just then. And goodbye after this shuts down. Ding! Thanks for watching.